The entire 1990s recap.
Every
man.
NBA decade is special in its own
About
right.
to pull me up
But
a
the
little
1990s,
What we here for, man?
I've never seen that
might be the most iconic of all time.
Is it?
During the 90s, we witnessed
Miller,
the
yeah, I
greatest
forgot
scoring
about
run
Reggie.
ever,
There's Jordan for three. Yes!
the greatest rebounding reign ever,
Rebound Rodman. He's unbelievable at that.
and the continued
I ain't gonna lie.
excellence of the all-time assist leader.
Oh, baby, what a play by Stockton.
We saw the best team ever assembled. We saw records that will likely never be broken, as well as notable rule changes and the continued globalization of the NBA as it became the most popular basketball league on the planet. Legendary feuds, iconic game winners,
Stockton, open three.
Stop this. Let me hold that.
tattoos, dyed hair, and cornrows were all part of the decade that produced some of the greatest moments in NBA history. This is the full recap of the 90s, from the
Hey, I ain't gonna
1990
lie.
season until 1999. The 1980
We had to do it, man. Look, like, comment, subscribe, bro. Y'all want to see more videos like these, man? Let me know in the comments, or let me know in the comments who I should react to next, highlights-wise. But, hey,
89 NBA
this the
season
greatest
ended with
era ever?
25 franchises, and the 90s started with 27 as the Minnesota
I
Timberwolves
think
and
so.
Orlando Magic joined the league. But one of the biggest changes came from the coaching side, as the Chicago Bulls hired an unproven coach who looked like a hippie and used sage during practices, but would end up retiring with more rings than fingers. NBC and TNT became new broadcasters.
Unsullied by sponsorship since
1989.
The 1989-90 season was historical due to the first influx of international players who would
Okay.
all end up in the Hall of Fame. Vlade Divac, Drazen Petrovic, Sarunas Marciulionis, and Alexander Volkov. However, the first pick of the '89 draft was one of the biggest busts of all time.
The Sacramento Kings select Purvis Ellison from the
Purvis
University of
Ellison.
Louisville.
Who?
But it wasn't all bad, as Sean Kemp, Glenn Rice, and Tim Hardaway also got drafted. And
Okay.
yet, the biggest
That made
addition
up
to
for it.
any team was the one of David Robinson, who was the first overall pick in 1987, but decided to stay in the Navy for 2 years. With the Admiral in the lineup,
Oh,
the
so he
Spurs
came in,
improved
okay.
by 35 games, which was the biggest turnaround in NBA history at the time, and Robinson became just the second newcomer who won Rookie of the Year unanimously. Jordan led the league in scoring for the fourth consecutive season, but in one of the closest MVP ballots ever, where 4 different players had a realistic chance to win, MJ finished third in MVP voting.
Bro, he averaged 33 points a game. But I ain't know that David Robinson was in the, what's the name, for 2 years. I didn't know that.
Behind Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson, who won his third MVP award. Dennis Rodman won his first Defensive Player of the Year, even though he averaged less than 1 steal and block per game, while Hakeem somehow finished second,
What?
despite averaging 2.1 steals and a league-leading 4.6 rejections. Olajuwon also notched a quadruple-double during the season, becoming only the 3rd player in NBA history to do so. In the All-Star game,
Whoa. How the hell that happened? Hold on. Somebody got to put something on that. Somebody got to put some context on. We need more
East
context.
dominated
for
the
that.
West, but Magic took home the MVP. And it was only the 3rd time in history a player on a losing team won the All-Star MVP. In the dunk contest, Dominique Wilkins defeated Kenny Smith, whose knees weren't as crooked yet, to win his 2nd slam dunk title. In the playoffs, despite having the MVP and the Coach of the Year, the Lakers struggled in their first year without Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and got defeated by the Suns in the 2nd round.
It is over. The Lakers have been eliminated.
However, it was the Portland Trailblazers who won the West, behind a great backcourt duo of Terry Porter and Clyde Drexler. In the East, Michael Jordan got his 2nd conference finals, but for the 3rd year in a row, he got punched, kicked, and grabbed by the Pistons and their Jordan rules. MJ still pushed the Pistons to Game 7, where he would score 31 points with 8 rebounds and 9 assists. But the rest of the Bulls starters shot an abysmal 23% from the floor, scoring just 43 points, and the Pistons blew them out to advance to their 3rd consecutive NBA Finals. In the championship round, it was very close, as 4 games were decided by less than a 6-point margin of victory. But the Pistons proved their championship pedigree, winning the title in 5 games, with Isaiah Thomas as the Finals MVP. Isaiah played the best series of his life,
He
scoring
started off
27
in
points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 54% from the field, and
Zeke.
an unbelievable 69% for 3. Drazen Petrovic, who was by far the best player in Europe and one of the 10 best shooters in basketball history, played garbage time minutes, which shows how much the NBA teams didn't trust the Euros back then. And when the 1990-91 NBA season rolled around, it came with a lot of changes. 8 teams changed their coaches, most notably the LA Lakers, whose Pat Riley resigned as the head coach after 9 years and 4 championships.
Pat Riley, of his own doing, resigned as coach of the Lakers. He knew as early as February he was going to do it. After the season, he made an agreement with Jerry Buss not to announce it until his replacement had been selected.
The Orlando Magic didn't change their coach, but they changed conferences. And after they had more
Hold on! The Magic was in the West and they moved to the East? I didn't know that. What the
travel miles than any other team, they unsurprisingly returned to the East after 1 year. There were also some rule changes. The NBA instituted the Trent Tucker rule, named after Trent Tucker, who hit a walk-off three-point field goal at the buzzer in the previous season, with 0.1 seconds left on the clock. The new rule prevented any shot from being taken with up to 0.2 seconds left in the period, except for tip-ins. And after years of hacking, namely by the rough bad boy Pistons, the NBA introduced the flagrant foul. In the otherwise weak draft class, Hall of Famers Gary Payton and Tony...
So they introduced the flagrant foul in 1991. Interesting. That's interesting.
Kukoc were drafted, even though the Croatian forward would stay in Europe for the next 3 seasons. The season started in Tokyo, at least for the Suns and the Jazz, who played their first game of the season in Japan, as the NBA became the first major professional sports league to play outside North America. On December 30th, 1990, Scott Skiles handed out 30 assists in a game against the Nuggets, which set an NBA record that still stands today.
He had 30 assists? The fuck?
Rodman repeated as the Defensive Player of the Year, Hakeem changed his name, Barkley spat on a little girl sitting courtside, while Jordan won another scoring title and his second MVP award. This was also the first season since 1981 that the Lakers didn't have the #1 seed in the Western Conference, which is insane and tells you how great of a player Magic Johnson was. The Lakers would defeat Hakeem's Rockets and the Run TMC Warriors in the first 2 playoff rounds. But in the conference finals, everyone expected the #1 seeded Blazers to advance to the finals again. However, Magic showed that he still owned the West, making his 9th trip to the finals in 12 years. Another crazy feat.
The stage is set for the Air Magic Show in the NBA Finals.
Magic
Starting
Show.
Sunday, it'll be Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls against Magic Johnson and the LA Lakers.
But the biggest story happened in the East. After years of bullying, Michael Jordan and his Bulls finally shook off the Detroit Pistons in a clean series sweep. And before the final buzzer sounded in Game 4, Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons walked off the court, passing by the Bulls bench with their heads down, refusing to congratulate the winners. MJ took this personally, and 1 month later he had his revenge on Isaiah. But more on that later. In the
Larry Bird did it earlier, bro. Now, I love Larry, but they did it earlier.
Finals, things didn't start so well for the Bulls, as the Lakers won Game 1 in Chicago. But then Scottie Pippen started guarding Magic, which changed everything and turned the series around. Jordan was absolutely spectacular, with 31 points and 11 assists, and nearly 3 steals on average, while shooting 55% from the field and 50% from 3. The 1991 Jordan was the best version of Michael, and it produced one of the most famous layups in NBA history.
That was in the finals?
The Bulls won the series in 5 games, and of course, Jordan was the finals MVP. But now, let's talk about Michael's revenge on Isaiah Thomas. 1 month after the season, around the time when Terminator 2 ruled the box office, the NBA League,
I ain't gonna lie, that flagrant foul rule helped too, though. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna keep it
Commissioner Stern and the U.S. Olympic program agreed to send NBA players to the Olympics after the collegiate athletes only won bronze in 1988. The first call was for Michael, who famously accepted to play, but only if Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the team. And on September 21st, 1991, it was officially announced that NBA stars would participate in the Olympics. The 10 players chosen were Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, the collegiate athlete. Around the time when Terminator 2 ruled the box office, the NBA League, Commissioner Stern, and the U.S. Olympic program agreed to send NBA players to the Olympics after the collegiate athletes only won bronze in 1988.
So we was sending collegiates until 1990. That's okay. Okay. Okay, I didn't know that.
The first
That's
call
how
was
I
for
didn't know
Michael,
that.
who famously accepted to play, but only if Isaiah Thomas wasn't on the team.
You were
And
hating
on
on
September
Isaiah,
21st,
man.
1991, it was officially announced that
Hating,
NBA
man.
stars would participate in the Olympics. The 10 players chosen were Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Chris Mullin, Scottie Pippen, David Robinson, and John Stockton. When the public saw Isaiah off the list, the Olympic Committee received a lot of backlash.
That shit was nasty work. To not have Zeke on this team, but have John Stockton, Kristen Laettner, Scottie Pippen. Get the fuck. Man, stop playing with me, man. Cry Jackson, Chris Mullin over Zeke, bro. That shit gonna piss me off, bro.
Stupid. Because Thomas was widely considered the second best point guard ever behind Magic.
Come on,
And
man.
speaking of Magic, he would soon become the biggest story in all of sports. After a physical examination before the start of the 1992 season, Johnson discovered that he had tested positive for HIV. And on November 7th, 1991, Johnson organized arguably the saddest and the most memorable press conference in NBA history.
Because of
It hurt.
the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today.
In Magic's honor, Charles Barkley switched his number from 34 to 32, which he wore for the entire season. Dikembe Mutombo, Steve Smith, Larry Johnson, and Kenny Anderson got drafted, with Larry Johnson winning Rookie of the Year in another relatively weak draft class. Pat Riley, after a year of commentating, returned to the NBA.
Pat Riley won 4 NBA titles in his 9 seasons
returned
with
to
the
the
Lakers.
Knicks.
He left LA 3 years ago, worked here at NBC for a year, and then joined the Knicks for the 91-92 season.
Who would become a defensive
Charles
force.
Charles Barkley real for that. I ain't gonna lie though. I ain't gonna lie, real for that. But damn, freaky man, Magic.
And a perennial contender in the East. But as the Knicks grew stronger, 2 other East powerhouses were at the end of their glory days and would soon fall into obscurity. Larry Bird played his last season with the Boston Celtics, and despite having to stretch for 2 hours before the game because of his bad back, he still averaged 20, 10, and 7, and shot over 40% for 3. The Celtics won 51 games, which would be their last 50-win season in 16 years.
So today I'm retiring, and I'm still going to be around, but not in the capacity I once was.
The Bad Boy Pistons were also falling apart, as Chuck Daly resigned by the end of 1992 to coach the Dream Team. On the brighter side, 1992 marked the start of the rebounding reign of Dennis Rodman. The Worm averaged an unreal 18.7 rebounds per game, which was the highest average since Wilt Chamberlain in 1972. It is the first of an NBA record 7 consecutive rebounding titles for Rodman. And during this span, Dennis averaged 16.7 boards per game, which is insane for a 6'7" forward. The Run TMC Warriors era also came to an end after Mitch Richmond got traded to the Kings.
I had a great career here. It was fun. Just got to take it from there.
Luke Longley became the first Australian player to join the NBA, while Larry Brown became the first head coach to coach 2 different NBA teams in a single season, after resigning from the San Antonio Spurs to join the Clippers. Brown led the Clippers to the team's first winning season since their relocation to Los Angeles, ending their 15-year playoff drought. Another NBA record worth mentioning was the Cavaliers' beatdown of the Miami Heat. On December 17, 1991, the Cavs crushed the Heat by a score of 148-80. This 68-point win stood as a record for nearly 3 decades, until the Grizzlies defeated the Thunder by 73.
Don't do that. Don't do that to no fucking Thunder. Don't do that to us. That's crazy. Getting beat by that many points should be illegal. Why?
In 2021. But the biggest story of the regular season wasn't any record, nor Jordan winning another MVP, or John Stockton leading the league in assists for the 5th consecutive season. The biggest story was again Magic Johnson.
3 months ago, he announced his retirement from the NBA after testing positive for the HIV virus. But he was voted by the fans as one of the starting guards for the Western Conference Stars.
Even though some people had reservations about Johnson playing with HIV, as Charles Barkley eloquently said it, the players weren't going to have unprotected sex with Magic. Before the game started, Isaiah Thomas...
Yo, this man Charles Barkley literally don't care. He do not care what comes out of his mouth, bruh. That's a fact, though. It's like, bro, really? Like...
Thomas hugged Magic and kissed him on the cheek, which calmed everybody. Before the game started, Isaiah Thomas hugged Magic and kissed him on the cheek, which calmed everybody and provided one of the most sincere moments of camaraderie in sports history.
That's his brother, though.
The final shot of the game, a three-pointer with 14 seconds to go, which ended the game prematurely. As all players ran onto the court to congratulate Johnson.
That had to be some overtime moment. Imagine that. He hit the three for the game. Come on, man. That's love.
In exchange high fives, Magic was the MVP with 25 points and 9 assists. In the three-point shooting contest, the best shooter of all time was sitting in his father's lap, watching Del Curry.
Look at little Steph. He like, you know I'm the greatest shooter ever, right? You just don't even know it yet. That's crazy. That's insane.
The best shooter of all time was sitting in his father's lap, watching Del Curry lose the competition to Craig Hodges.
Ew.
After the All-Star break, the Lakers struggled without Magic.
Bro, the 90s, bro. The 90s era, bro, like, bro, I wish I was born during this era, bro. I wish I was alive, bro. They stripped me from my dream.
Failing to win a playoff series for the first time in 11 years, losing 3-1 to the Blazers, who would go on to make the NBA Finals.
If I had been playing with them, we wouldn't be in this situation that we're in now. We're missing the emotion, and I thought that's what I brought to the team, where emotionally every night we were up and ready, and right now we don't have that emotional leader.
In the East, Riley's Knicks pushed Jordan to the limit, but Michael was too good for John Starks, and the Bulls won the series in 7. Then, after the Bulls eliminated the Cavs in 6, it was time for a showdown between the two best shooting guards in the league, Michael Ayer and Clyde the Glide. Some analysts speculated that the advantage Drexler had over Jordan was his outside shooting, to which Michael responded with the best half of basketball in finals history. In the first half of Game 1, Jordan scored 35 points, setting records for most points in a finals half and most three-pointers in a half with 6. After his 6th three-pointer, Jordan looked at Magic Johnson, who was commentating the game, and shrugged, forever marking his performance as the Shrug Game. And even though the Blazers kept the series interesting, with the series tied after Game 4, MJ was simply on another planet, and the Bulls clinched their second NBA championship.
Hey, but matter of fact, now that I think about it, I just watched that 83-point game last night, bro. Let me know what y'all think about that 83-point game, bro, if anybody watched that game. Look, I ain't no hater. Congratulations, bro. If you going for it, go for it, bro. But, bro, that was unwatchable for, like, 10 minutes game. I'm talking, they fouling them while they up 30. It was nasty. Kobe looking down and just disappointed right now. That's all I'm going to say, bro. It was nasty.
In 6 games. Jordan, of course, was the finals MVP, with averages of 35, 5, and 6, including 43% shooting from deep, while Drexler only shot 15% from downtown, as the short-lived debate on the best shooting guard in the world was settled. But MJ and Clyde would become teammates just several weeks later, as they joined the rest of the Dream Team in Barcelona. The 1992 Olympic Dream Team became legendary for the amount of Hall of Famers that cruised to a gold medal, with the hype around a single basketball team that would likely never be repeated again. But before the Olympics even started, one guy that was supposed to be on the Dream Team just got drafted to the NBA.
The Orlando Magic selects
Shaquille O'Neal
from Louisiana State University.
I know he's big boy.
Shaquille O'Neal was the #1 overall pick in the '92 draft, which also had other notable players like Alonzo Mourning, Latrell Sprewell, Robert Horry, and Christian Laettner, who famously got selected to the Dream Team instead of Shaq. But when the NBA season started, O'Neal quickly asserted his dominance.
The fact that he got, bro, man,
and showed the Olympic Committee they made a mistake. Shaq's unique blend of power, size, and agility made him a nightmare for opposing defenders, as well as NBA rims. Shaq famously brought down the entire stanchion in Phoenix, resulting in the entire basket construction collapse. When he did it again in New Jersey, destroying the shot clock that landed on his head, the NBA realized that they needed to change something to withstand the Shaq attack.
That actually did hit him. I ain't think the shot clock hit him on when they showed the other side, like the other, like,
collapse. When he did it again in New Jersey, destroying the shot clock that landed on his head, the NBA realized that they needed to change something to withstand the Shaq attack. Starting from the 93-94 NBA season, the NBA had to Shaq-proof the rims, switching to tempered shatter-resistant glass and stronger backboard braces. With 23 points, 14 rebounds, and 3.5 blocks on average, Shaq convincingly won Rookie of the Year, 2 votes shy of winning the award unanimously. Shaq's dear friend, Charles Barkley, finally forced a trade out of Philadelphia before the start of the 1993 season, becoming a member of the Phoenix Suns. Barkley was the best American player on the Dream Team, and he carried that form to the NBA, winning the MVP award with averages of 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. Jordan won his 7th consecutive scoring title, tying Wilt's record, and after 8 years of leading the NBA in combined blocks and steals, Hakeem Olajuwon finally won the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award, averaging 4.2 rejections and 1.8 steals per game. On the negative side of NBA history, the Dallas Mavericks had the 2nd worst season of all time.
Don't blink. Mavericks throw the inbounds away. Jeff Hornacek to Spoon again for the layup.
Winning just 11 games with 71 losses. But when the playoffs started, there were no surprises, as 4 teams with the best record in the regular season made the conference finals. In another classic matchup between the Bulls and the Knicks, New York won the first 2 games at home, and it seemed like Pat Riley, Pat Ewing, and John Starks finally had the goods to dethrone Jordan. Michael had one of the worst series of his career, as the Knicks played the best defense he ever faced, apart from the Bad Boys. In 5 games of the series, MJ shot just 35% from the field, and the Bulls' heads were kept above water because of Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, and B.J. Armstrong. However, Jordan couldn't be shut down forever, and in Game 4, he shot 18 for 30 from the field, including 6 for 9 from 3, finishing with 54 points. At the time, it was the 8th highest scoring game in the playoffs. The Bulls tied the series, and then they won the next 2 games as well, advancing to their 3rd consecutive NBA Finals. In the West, Phoenix and Seattle kept exchanging leads, and the series would eventually be decided in Game 7. And after he closed out the previous series with a game winner against the Spurs, Charles Barkley dominated in the clutch again, finishing with 44 points and 24 rebounds, and pushing the Suns to their first NBA Finals since
they was dropping nasty numbers in
1976.
God want us to win the world championship.
I don't know if I go that far, Charles.
But I talked to him the other night.
But 2 days before the finals started, a tragedy struck. While driving to the Eurobasket qualifying game in Munich, a Volkswagen Golf crashed into a truck. Drazen Petrovic, who was sleeping on the passenger seat and wasn't buckled in, died in the crash.
For Drazen Petrovic, the Nets star was killed on Monday evening in a car accident in Germany.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Petrovic had just come off the best season of his career, where he averaged 22.3 points per game and got named to the All-NBA 3rd team, becoming the first European player to make the All-NBA. At the time of his death, Petrovic was the all-time leader in three-point percentage, and he's currently number 4 on that list. The finals started with a minute of silence for Drazen, but when the game started, the Suns were awful and clearly afraid of the biggest stage, as the Bulls won Game 1 on the road. In Game 2, Barkley finished with 42 and 13, but it wasn't enough, as Jordan scored 42 of his own, along with 12 rebounds and 9 assists. Game 3 was a triple overtime game, where the Suns finally managed to win. But in Game 4, Jordan had the 2nd best game scoring in the history of the NBA Finals, finishing with 55 points. The Suns managed to extend the series by winning Game 5 in Chicago, but in Game 6, thanks to the dagger 3 by John Paxson, the Bulls won the game and the championship. Michael Jordan scored 40 or more points in 4 consecutive games of the NBA Finals and averaged an NBA Finals record of 41 points per game for the series. But before the next season even started, another tragedy, as the NBA family lost another great player. On July 27, 1993, Boston Celtics All-Star guard Reggie Lewis collapsed during practice and died of a heart condition later that day, and the Celtics honored him by retiring his number 35. A week later, on August 3rd, another tragedy struck the NBA, as the police had found a dead body in the swamps of South Carolina, and it was identified as the body of James Jordan, Michael's father.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Damn, bro.
What is still unclear and will be for some time is what effect this tragedy will have on Michael Jordan and his future with the Chicago Bulls.
Only a month later, on October 6th, Michael Jordan shocked the world when he announced his retirement from the NBA following that tragedy.
when I lose the sense of motivation and the sense of to prove something as a basketball player, it's time for me to move away from the game of basketball.
However, the rest of the league had to keep going, and there were some new notable additions, as Chris Webber got drafted first overall by the Orlando Magic, who became the first team to earn the top overall pick in consecutive years in the lottery era. But because of Shaq's influence, who became good friends with Penny Hardaway during the filming of the movie Blue Chips, the Magic traded Webber to Golden State for Hardaway, who was the third overall pick. Jamal Mashburn, Allen Houston, Sam Cassell, and Nick Van Exel also got drafted in this class. Then, Magic Johnson returned to the NBA as the coach of the Lakers.
I do know that what it takes to win, and I do know what it takes to be a good basketball player, and that's hard work.
Joining the team for the last 16 games with a record of 5-11. The Lakers ultimately missed the playoffs for the first time since 1976, and just like he did when he was the Lakers GM,
I'm not gonna be here.
I'm not gonna be here. The Celtics also missed the playoffs, and this was the first time in history that neither historic franchise qualified for the postseason.
The storied rivalry has been reduced to a couple of clubs barely over break-even.
Magic's good friend Isaiah Thomas suffered a torn Achilles during the season, which forced his retirement from the NBA, just like Bill Laimbeer, who also decided to hang them up. On the other hand, another bad boy was thriving. Dennis Rodman, now playing for the Spurs, continued to dominate the glass with 17 rebounds per game. On top of his on-court performance, Rodman fully embraced his inner bad boy and started to dye his hair almost every game. His front court teammate David Robinson notched a quadruple-double, which was just the fourth and the last time it happened in an NBA game. And to win a scoring title over Shaq, Robinson went berserk in the final game of the regular season, scoring 71 points, the seventh highest scoring game ever at the time. Reggie Miller became just the third player in NBA history to shoot 50, 40, 90 for the season, joining Larry Bird and Mark Price. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf shot 95.6% from the free throw line, which was the second best mark in NBA history, behind Calvin Murphy's 95.8% from the 81 season. Abdul-Rauf hit 219 out of 229 free throws in '94, and if he had made just one more from the charity stripe, he would have broken Murphy's record. But without Jordan in the league, Hakeem Olajuwon took the throne as the best player in the NBA. His Rockets started the season 15-0, which was the best start in NBA history. Hakeem became only the second player in history to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, after MJ did it in 1988. This was the closest Defensive Player of the Year voting in history, as Hakeem won with 23 points out of 101, in front of David Robinson with 22, Dikembe Mutombo with 19, and Scottie Pippen with 11. In the playoffs, Mutombo and his Nuggets became the first 8th seed to upset the number 1 seed, defeating the 63-win Supersonics 3-2 in the first round. Denver did a big favor to the Rockets, who didn't match up well with Seattle, and after a tough battle with Charles Barkley, Hakeem and the Rockets made the NBA Finals. In the East, the Jordanless Bulls nearly defeated the Knicks in the second round, but New York eventually advanced after 7 tough games. In the conference finals, the Knicks were losing 3-2 to the Pacers, and Game 5 will forever be remembered by Reggie Miller's choke sign towards Spike Lee. However, the Knicks had the last laugh, winning Games 6 and 7 to advance to their first NBA Finals since 1973. The finals between the Knicks and the Rockets were one of the toughest, physical, and defensive-oriented finals in NBA history, as neither team scored more than 93 points in the series. After 6 games, the series was tied. But then, in Game 7, John Starks, who was the leading Knicks scorer coming into the game, had an absolute dud. Starks shot just 2 for 18 from the field, including 0 for 11 from 3, and the Rockets won the game 90-84. Olajuwon won the Finals MVP with averages of 27, 9, and 4, with 4 blocks per game, limiting Ewing to just 36% shooting in the finals. And after such a low-scoring finals and overall decrease in offensive output compared to the 80s, the NBA wanted to increase scoring before the start of the 94-95 season. So they shortened the three-point arc to a uniform 22 feet around the basket, compared to the 23 feet 9 inches it was before. The league average from downtown was 33.3% in 1994, and with the shortened distance, it rose to 35.9%. And Steve Kerr led the league with 52.4% accuracy on three-pointers, which was the NBA record that stood until 2010, when Kyle Korver broke it with 53.5%. Also, starting from the 1995 season, players fouled while in the act of shooting a three-point attempt would get 3 free throws instead of 2. Jason Kidd, Grant Hill, Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, and Glenn Robinson.
So you could tell the NBA started to implement certain things to make the NBA more appealing and more like, you know, which is understandable. You got to make money. You can't just be a rough rat. You know what I'm saying? You got to make money sometimes, which is understandable. I
got drafted, with Kidd and Grant Hill winning the Co-Rookie of the Year award.
Grant Hill and Jason Kidd, the co-rookies of the year in the NBA.
Hill also became the first rookie in professional sports to lead fan balloting for the NBA All-Star Game. Coach Lenny Wilkins passed Red Auerbach to become the NBA's all-time leader in wins, a record that stood for 15 years, until it was broken by Don Nelson. Shaq won his first scoring title, Dikembe Mutombo won his first Defensive Player of the Year, while David Robinson won the MVP award. 1995 was also the last season for Moses Malone and Manute Bol. However, the biggest story was Michael Jordan, who returned to the NBA after a 15-month absence playing baseball.
The economy has produced 6.1 million jobs since I became president. And if Michael Jordan goes back to the Bulls, it'll be 6,100,001.
Jordan's announcement became legendary, as it consisted of
he was already playing for the
just a two-word fax.
I'm back. That's all Jordan said on Saturday. That was really all Jordan needed to say as his 17-month retirement came to an end.
Since the Bulls had already retired his number 23, MJ started wearing number 45. And in just the 5th game since he returned, MJ scored 55 in the Madison Square Garden in the famous double nickel game. But the number 45 wouldn't last long. After Game 1 of the conference semifinals against Orlando, when Nick Anderson stole the ball from Michael in the final minute, which clinched the game for the Magic, Anderson boasted that 45 is not 23, alluding to the end of Michael's dominance in the NBA. So, for the next game, Jordan returned to the number 23, scoring 38 points in Game 2 and tying the series. However, due to the inferior front line, the Bulls couldn't battle Shaq and Horace Grant, and the Magic won the series in 6 games. The Indiana Pacers played another memorable series against the Knicks, highlighted by Reggie Miller's legendary 8 points in 9 seconds to steal Game 1 in New York.
And a steal. Miller,
that was in 95? Bop!
In a series where 4 games were decided on the final possession, the Pacers defeated the Knicks, winning 97-95 in Game 7.
And it's all over. The Indiana Pacers have defeated the New York Knicks.
The East Finals would also go to 7 games, with Orlando edging out the Pacers to advance to their first NBA Finals, becoming the first of the 1980s expansion franchises to reach the championship round. In the West, the Rockets overcame a 2-1 deficit against the Jazz to win the series 3-2, but their championship dreams seemed to be over against the Suns, who had a 3-1 lead in the second round, with a double-digit advantage in Game 5. But Houston persevered and completely turned the game and the series around. In Game 7, the Rockets won 115-114 on a Mario Elie three-pointer, later dubbed as the Kiss of Death. In the conference finals, Hakeem embarrassed David Robinson with this filthy move. Olajuwon was mad that Robinson won the MVP over him, and he completely outclassed his rival with 35 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks per game. Before the finals, Shaq was partying with teammate Dennis Scott for a week straight, but still, they were inches away from winning Game 1. Up by 3, the Magic's Nick Anderson had 2 free throws, but he missed both. However, Anderson grabbed his own rebound, and with 10 seconds to go, he got fouled. If he made only 1 free throw, Orlando would have won. But Anderson missed his 2 freebies again.
That's crazy.
The Rockets had the final possession, and Kenny Smith tied the game with a three-pointer, which was the 7th 3 he made that game. And that set an NBA record for most three-pointers in a finals game, which wouldn't be broken until 2010. In overtime, the game was tied with 5 seconds to go, when Olajuwon tipped in the miss by Clyde Drexler to win the game for the Rockets. Houston then won the next 3 games to repeat as NBA champions, and their 7 consecutive wins on the road was an NBA playoff record. Houston was the lowest seeded team ever to win the NBA Finals, winning as the 6th seed. The Rockets also became the first team to defeat 4 opponents who had 50 or more wins en route to a title. And one day after the finals concluded, the first ever NBA lockout ensued. due to the labor dispute with the salary cap, free agency, a rookie salary cap, and revenue sharing. But unlike some future lockouts, a new collective bargaining agreement was reached before the season started, and no games were lost. The NBA established its first Canadian teams since the 1946-47 Toronto Huskies, as the Toronto Raptors and the Vancouver Grizzlies made their debuts as the NBA's 28th and 29th franchises. Pat Riley became the new head coach and team president for the Miami Heat, for which Miami paid a $1 million fine and first-round pick to New York, because they were found guilty of tampering with the former Knicks coach. During the offseason, Jordan was filming Space Jam, while also maniacally training to get himself into the best shape of his career. Kevin Garnett got drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, becoming the first high school player to enter the NBA since Moses Malone in the late 70s. Rasheed Wallace, Michael Finley, Jerry Stackhouse, and Damon Stoudemire also got drafted in this class, with Stoudemire winning Rookie of the Year. Magic Johnson returned to the NBA after a 4-year absence, playing 32 games for the Lakers, before finally retiring for good at the end of the season. But it was actually Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf who became the most talked-about player in the NBA when he refused to stand for the American national anthem, stating that the flag was a symbol of oppression, of tyranny. On March 12th,
I knew he did that! Abdul-Rauf. I didn't know this.
1996, the NBA suspended Abdul-Rauf for his refusal to stand, costing him $31,707 per missed game. 2 days later, he worked out a compromise with the league, whereby he would stand during the playing of the national anthem, but could close his eyes and look downward. John Stockton led the NBA in assists for the 9th consecutive year, and during the season, he became the all-time leader in assists and steals. Hakeem Olajuwon became the all-time leader in blocks, while Robert Parrish broke Kareem's record of most games played. And 4 years after the movie White Men Can't Jump came out, Brent Barry won the slam dunk contest as the first white player to do so, and the only one until Mac McClung won in 2023.
So Zach LaVine ain't white? What you mad?
Scott made the NBA record in three-pointers made in a season with 267, and it stood for 17 years until Steph Curry made 272 threes in 2013.
Wow.
Gary Payton became the first point guard ever to win Defensive Player of the Year, and Jordan won his 8th scoring title, which broke the NBA record MJ previously held with Wilt Chamberlain. Michael also won the MVP, as his Chicago Bulls won an NBA record 72 games, with the best net rating in NBA history, a record that still stands today.
You see who number 2, though? 2024-2025 Thunder. Nigga, don't ever play.
This year's Chicago Bulls squad just may go down as the greatest team of all time.
The Bulls steamrolled through the playoffs, losing just one game on their way to the NBA Finals, where they met the Seattle Supersonics, led by Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp. The Bulls won the first 3 games, but then the Sonics came alive with 2 wins of their own after Payton started guarding Jordan. However, in Game 6, the Bulls finished the job, winning their 4th title, with MJ becoming the first player ever to win 4 Finals MVP awards. But just 1 season after the first lockout, the NBA had another one. The lockout was imposed after the league and the players' union could not reach an agreement involving $50 million in profit sharing from television revenue. But after just a few hours of negotiations, the Players' Union and the league reached an agreement. In the 96-97 season, the NBA salary cap was roughly $24 million. Only 4 players in the league were making over $10 million per season, led by Horace Grant and his $14 million salary. But then there was also Michael Jordan, who earned $30 million that year, which was more than what 21 other franchises paid for their entire roster. This was possible because at the time, there was no maximum salary rule, and teams were allowed to go over the salary cap to re-sign their own free agents. So Jordan took advantage of that, signing a big 1-year contract. MJ's deal was trailblazing, and it led to other superstars soon demanding and getting more money. The 1996 free agency was the first modern free agency, where a plethora of superstars started talking to the entire league in order to get the best offer. Before 1996, no NBA player had signed a $100 million contract. No player had made $20 million in one season. But then, a big splash, as the biggest fish in free agency changed oceans, deciding to move from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific.
If there is demand for a product, the price of the product goes up. If a bidding war ensues, the price of the product goes way, way up. And that brings us to Shaquille O'Neal.
On July 18, 1996, Shaquille O'Neal and the Los Angeles Lakers agreed to what was then the largest contract in the history of sports. The contract was worth $120 million over 7 years, while the Orlando Magic were left stranded for their indecisiveness to re-sign. The Heat signed Mourning to a 7-year deal worth $112 million, but Riley wasn't done there, wanting to also sign Juwan Howard. It appeared that the Heat had Howard locked into a 7-year, $100 million deal, but the NBA voided the contract, citing the Heat for incentive bonuses for Tim Hardaway and P.J. Brown. Howard then signed a $105 million deal to stay with the Washington Bullets, while Charles Barkley got traded to the Rockets to join Olajuwon and Drexler. But before the season even started, a new crop of rookies joined the NBA, arguably the best draft class of all time.
Yeah. Hey.
The Philadelphia 76ers select Allen Iverson from Georgetown University.
Allen Iverson was the #1 overall pick, but there was also Kobe, who followed KG's path and came directly from high school.
I have decided to skip college and take my talent to the NBA.
Steve Nash, and Ray Allen, all future first-ballot Hall of Famers.
Steve Nash.
Other notable players include Jermaine O'Neal, Peja Stojakovic, Stephon Marbury, Marcus Canby, Antoine Walker, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and Derek Fisher. After a 3-15 start to the season, the Spurs GM Greg Popovich fired coach Bob Hill and started coaching the team himself, starting his 28-year coaching tenure with San Antonio. The Utah Jazz broke the NBA record for the biggest comeback, winning a game against the Nuggets after trailing by 36 in the second quarter. Kevin Garnett became the youngest player selected for the All-Star game.
It's the youngest man since Magic Johnson to make an All-Star team. Kevin Garnett.
And during the All-Star weekend, the NBA celebrated its 50th anniversary by naming the 50 greatest players in history, where Wilt and Mike enjoyed some trash talking, while Kobe won the slam dunk contest.
Oh, that had to be hard.
The NBA celebrated its 50th anniversary by naming the 50 greatest players in history, where Wilt and Mike.
You got Wilt and Mike in the same. That's hard, bro. What? That's hard.
Mike enjoyed some trash talking, while Kobe won the slam dunk contest. Some of the most memorable regular season moments were when Dennis Rodman got suspended for 11 games for kicking a cameraman, and when Allen Iverson crossed over MJ. AI also became the first rookie to string 5 consecutive 40-point games. Iverson won Rookie of the Year, and Jordan won his 9th scoring title.
He said he had 4. Man, he had how many 40-point games? I think Iverson was cooking folks out there, bro. If I'm that cameraman, I'd be like, my back, my neck.
All while Karl Malone won the MVP over MJ, even though the Bulls won 69 games, narrowly missing being the first team with consecutive 70-win seasons. For the first time in 10 years, John Stockton wasn't the league leader in assists, as Mark Jackson led the NBA with 11.4 dimes per game. In the playoffs, the most intense series was the second-round matchup between the Knicks and the Heat, which would start one of the most bitter rivalries of the entire decade. In Game 5, P.J. Brown flipped Charlie Ward on the hardwood, inciting a brawl between the two. As a result, Brown was handed a 2-game suspension, while Ward was suspended for Game 6. However, as a result of leaving the bench during the brawl, Patrick Ewing and Allen Houston were suspended for Game 6, while Larry Johnson and John Starks were suspended for Game 7. And even though the Knicks held a 3-1 series lead, with all the suspensions of their 4 best players, they couldn't battle the Heat, and Miami advanced after 7 games. But in the conference finals, Jordan and the Bulls made quick work of the Heat, limiting Miami to just 78 points on average, and beating them in 5 games to advance to another NBA Finals. In the West, the Rockets defeated the Sonics in a close 7-game series to make the conference finals, while Utah defeated the Lakers in 5 games in a series that will mostly be remembered by Kobe's 4 airball misses. In Game 4 of that series, Karl Malone hit all 18 of his free throw attempts, setting a playoff record for most attempts without a miss, since broken by Paul Pierce and Dirk Nowitzki. In the West, despite the Rockets' big 3, Utah was a better team, and they advanced after John Stockton hit a buzzer-beating 3 in Game 6.
Nasty work.
Game 1 of the finals was tied with 10 seconds to go, and Karl Malone was at the free throw line when Scottie Pippen told him the infamous line, "The mailman doesn't deliver on Sunday." The game was played on Sunday, and just like Pippen predicted, the mailman didn't deliver, missing both free throws. On the other end, Jordan dribbled the ball down the court and then made a 20-foot jumper at the buzzer to win Game 1. Malone had another poor performance in Game 2, which the Bulls won with ease. But in Game 3 in Utah, the mailman finally delivered, leading the Jazz to victory with 37-10. In Game 4, even though the Bulls had a 73-69 lead with a minute to go, with a series of misses and turnovers, the Jazz outscored the Bulls 12-2 in the clutch and tied the series. Game 5 was the most famous game of the series and probably one of the most memorable games of Michael Jordan's career. Despite a heavy fever and a weakened body, Jordan came out of bed an hour and a half before the game started and suited up. However, it was clear that he wasn't up to par, as the Jazz generated a 16-point lead. But then, Jordan started hitting, and the Jazz lead was slowly starting to melt. In the last minute, with the game tied at 85, Michael made a clutch three-pointer that would secure the victory for the Bulls. Jordan played 44 minutes, finishing the game with 38 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block, before collapsing into Scottie Pippen's arms. In Game 6, MJ was feeling much better, scoring 39 points. However, it was Steve Kerr who was the unexpected hero, hitting the game-winning shot, while Scottie Pippen made a crucial steal at the end of the game to secure the 5th NBA title for the Bulls. And the 1997-98 season was the year of the coaches. First, an NBA legend returned to the court, but this time, Larry Bird was not playing, but coaching the Indiana Pacers, where he'd immediately win the Coach of the Year award. Secondly, Phil Jackson and the Bulls announced that the Zen Master would stop coaching Chicago at the end of the season, which created constant drama around the team in a season known as The Last Dance. Thirdly, the Warriors head coach PJ Carlesimo grabbed all the headlines when he appeared at a press conference with clear marks around his neck, which would later be discovered to be marks from Latrell Sprewell's hands. Spree threatened to kill him, and he nearly succeeded, for which he received a 68-game suspension, at the time the longest suspension in NBA history. And speaking of violent...
Hold on, Latrell Sprewell. He choked his coach out, bro. What are you doing?
The Washington Bullets didn't want to be associated with guns, so they renamed the team and became the Washington Wizards. Tim Duncan got drafted first overall by the Spurs, who won 36 games more than the previous season, which was the biggest turnaround in NBA history. Hall of Famers Tracy McGrady and Chauncey Billups also got drafted. The NBA reverted the three-point line back to 23 feet 9 inches at the top of the key, while the distance from the corners remained at 22 feet. The league average dropped from 36% accuracy and 6 made threes in 1997 to 34.5% and 4.4 made three-pointers in 1998. Now, for comparison, in the 2024 NBA season, teams averaged 12.8 makes from downtown, with a 36.6% accuracy. Violet Palmer and Dee Kantner made history, becoming the first female officials in major American sports leagues. The Denver Nuggets made the history books as the 4th team ever to lose 70 games in a season, finishing with an 11-71 record. On February 27th, the Indiana Pacers defeated the Portland Trailblazers 124-59, marking the first time in NBA history that one team scored more than twice as many points as its opponent. AC Green joined the record books as the NBA Ironman, surpassing Randy Smith's record of 906 consecutive games played.
Damn.
And Green eventually increased the record to 1,192 consecutive games.
What?
Kobe became the youngest All-Star in history, and for the first time since the '84 season, there was no slam dunk contest, as the league believed it was getting too repetitive. Jordan claimed his 3rd consecutive All-Star Game MVP, as well as his 10th scoring
Hold on, so
title.
they did scratch and dunk contest and three-point contest altogether. They said we're gonna just scratch. Like what? How does that even work?
And his 5th MVP award. Dikembe won his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year award, while Tim Duncan won Rookie of the Year. Timmy also made the first-team All-NBA, becoming the first player with this accomplishment since Larry Bird in 1980, and the last to do it, as it hasn't happened since. In the playoffs, the Knicks and the Heat played each other again, and they didn't pull any punches. In another physical, emotional, and borderline dirty series, there was another brawl, this time between two guys who couldn't stand each other, Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning. A 5'9" coach, Jeff Van Gundy, tried to get in the middle of it, and he nearly got run over as he tried to hold on for dear life by grabbing Mourning's leg. Johnson and Mourning got suspended for the deciding.
He grabbing his big leg,
game of the series, but this time it was the Knicks who advanced. However, in the second round, the Knicks lost to Larry Bird and his Pacers, who made the conference finals against the Bulls, and Chicago was on its last legs. Pippen was hurt, and all the other players were tired on the back end of a third consecutive year with over 100 games played. On the other hand, Reggie Miller was playing the best ball of his career, which he proved in Game 4, hitting a game-winning three-pointer after an uncalled offensive foul on Jordan.
Gets it in the middle for the win.
Bop.
The Pacers pushed the Bulls to the brink of elimination as they held a double-digit lead multiple times in Game 7, but the Bulls defeated them on experience, proving once again to never doubt the heart of a champion. In the West, it was much less dramatic, as the Jazz lost just 3 games on their way to the NBA Finals, defeating the Rockets and the Spurs and sweeping the Lakers. Now, the Finals were another super close series, with each game decided in the final minute, except for the inexplicable blowout in Game 3. The Bulls defeated the Jazz 96-54.
Beaten by 42 and held to the lowest scoring output in the history of the NBA.
Now, in Game 6, the Bulls were trailing by 1 point when MJ stole the ball from Malone, and what happened next was one of the most famous sequences in NBA history.
Jordan.
I still can't believe they left
Chicago with the lead.
And when Utah failed to score, the Bulls completed their second three-peat, and Jordan left the game with 6 titles and 6 Finals MVPs. And after the season, Phil Jackson stepped down.
Phil Jackson cleaned out his office at the Chicago Bulls practice facility and made it official. After 9 years and 6 NBA titles, he is done as the Bulls coach.
And Jordan stayed true to his word that he wouldn't re-sign if Phil was gone.
Michael Jordan said if Phil wasn't back, then he wasn't back.
But the NBA had even bigger problems than the retirement of their best player, because for the third time in 4 years, there was a lockout, and this one was major.
The question everyone wants to know is whether or not this season can be saved.
The NBA owners wanted a limitation on players' salaries, not wanting to be pushed around by the players who started demanding more and more money. On the other hand, the Players Association opposed their ideas and wanted bigger minimums. After the two sides failed to reach an agreement, the owners began the lockout. By October, it became the first time in NBA history that games were canceled due to a labor dispute. Further games were canceled by November and December, including the league's Christmas games, which had been played on an annual basis since 1947, and the All-Star Game, which was not played for the first time since 1951. The lockout continued into January of 1999, threatening the cancellation of the entire season.
I think we sit and we wait and we watch as the season ticks away.
And despite a division within the Players Union, on January 6th, the union, the owners, and the NBA commissioner finally came to an agreement. The settlement put a ceiling on maximum salaries for players and a pay scale for first-year players, which ended the lockout after 204 days. On January 13th, 1999, while the lockout was still ongoing, Michael Jordan officially announced his retirement for the second time.
I want to say thank you to both of the gentlemen here, Mr. Stern and Mr. Reinsdorf, for presenting me with the opportunity to play the game of basketball.
When the play resumed, the regular season was shortened to 50 games per team as opposed to the normal 82. And to preserve games between teams in the same conference and shorten flight time, some teams didn't meet each other at all during the course of the shortened season. Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Pierce, Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, Jason Williams, Mike Bibby, and Rashard Lewis got drafted. Scottie Pippen joined Hakeem and Barkley in Houston, while the Bulls missed the playoffs completely for the first time in 14 years. They would also become the second defending champion in NBA history that failed to make the playoffs, joining the 69-70 Boston Celtics, who missed the playoffs after Bill Russell's retirement. Karl Malone became the oldest player ever to win the NBA MVP, Vince Carter won the Rookie of the Year, and Allen Iverson won his first scoring title. In the playoffs, the Spurs lost just 1 game on their way to the NBA Finals, sweeping the Lakers in the second round and then the Blazers in the conference finals. In the East, the Knicks had another nail-biter against the Heat, winning the series with Allen Houston's buzzer beater in the deciding Game 5. the Knicks became only the second number 8 seed to advance in the playoffs by defeating a number 1 seed. The Knicks' Cinderella story continued as they swept the Hawks in the second round and then defeated the Pacers in 6 games to reach the NBA Finals, thus becoming the first 8th seed to reach the Finals, something that would later be repeated by the 2023 Heat team. However, in the series against Indiana, the Knicks lost Patrick Ewing to injury, which proved to be an insurmountable loss against the Spurs and their Twin Towers. And even though they had 2 great scorers in Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell, Tim Duncan destroyed the Knicks in the post, leading the Spurs to a 4-1 victory and their first NBA championship. Thus, the 90s concluded as arguably the most legendary era of NBA basketball. Thank you for watching.
That's a crazy era. That era is probably undisputed, probably the GOAT era. Everything happened in that era. And then it set up for the 2000s era, bro. Let me know in the comments y'all want me to do 2000 era, man. Let me know in the comments. Look, man, I'm see y'all in the I'm gonna see y'all on the next one. No cap, y'all already know what's going on, man. Roll to 50K, man. But damn, boy. Let me know in the comments who y'all think who had the best era. What's the best era, bro? Let me know in the comments what y'all think. But I'm gonna see y'all.